Hey there, Christian working moms. It's Anita here with The Ripple Effect. And today I want to talk about a conversation that actually my daughter and I have been having lately. So she's getting ready to graduate high school, and she's also in the midst of writing an essay for an assignment, excuse me. So one of the things that we're talking about is this income gap that exists. And she's like, Mom, I want to write a paper about the income gap that exists between men and women. And so that got me to thinking as we started talking about that, like, where does the income gap exist between men and women, and where is it seen most commonly, and how do we overcome it? And so we're going to do that. I'm going to break down a little bit of the scenario of why the income gap might exist from my perspective, and then ways that we can actually overcome that and some solutions for you. So let's kind of get started here. One of the things that you notice when you do see an income gap, sometimes there's an income gap, and I mean in the relationship where you're talking about employee to employer, that kind of a work setting, a work contract. So sometimes in that environment, you might have a situation where, like, a female, as she rises in her career, maybe she prescriptively chooses roles that allow her to do things like raise her kids and maybe not travel as much. So maybe she chooses roles where she is more available to be at home at night and on the weekends and that kind of stuff. But sometimes her male counterparts that are growing in their career, maybe they'll choose roles that are maybe more sales or management, when those types of roles allow him and give him the opportunity and require of him to be able to travel more. So sometimes it's a matter of the role that the person is in, and sometimes it's a matter of, as we grow in our career and then grow in our marriage and grow in our families, then sometimes it's a situation where we actually choose roles that would maybe limit some of our income, but there's a trade-off there. Like, we're doing that prescriptively because we want to be able to raise our kids intentionally. We want to be able to be home to serve and to meet with friends and all these other kinds of things. So sometimes the income gap exists because merely because of the role that we are choosing in that situation. The other times, what we also see sometimes is the income gap exists because of specialized knowledge. And that is, when you follow me and we have these conversations, you know that I'm a huge fan of specialized knowledge. And so let me break that down a little bit. So let's say somebody is a software consultant. And in that role as a software consultant, one of the things that I might be really, really good at is I know how to run mid-level ERP projects for, I don't know, 6 and 7 figure projects that are for medium-sized companies. And in that, I have specialized knowledge in a specific ERP solution and a software product. And so as I rise and get that expertise and get that knowledge, so I move myself from maybe a more generalist of a role, and I start moving myself up in specialized knowledge. And as I do that, my income actually grows. So in that case, let's just say, for conversation's sake, as a software consultant, the one that's actually maybe doing this remotely or on site, maybe they're making, I don't know, I'll just throw out some numbers. Maybe they're making, I don't know, around $130,000, $150,000 a year. So you can see, as I move from a generalist position more into some expertise or what's called specialized knowledge, then my income starts to grow. And then I still have the ability, and we'll just assume in that scenario that I still have the ability to stay at home, have a healthy marriage, intentionally raise my kids, that kind of stuff. So the other thing that we can do when we're talking about an income gap, and these are ways to solve the income gap, is by increasing your specialized knowledge or your area of expertise. So we go from a generalist role and we start working our way up the ladder in terms of expertise. So the next thing that we can do to increase our income and close that income gap that might exist, and you might have this in your profession, you might have seen this as an example, is maybe from I move from like a generalist role, like customer service and a support role in the software example that I'm using. And then I move up to a software consultant and I get a little bit more specialized knowledge. But then maybe I take it one step further and I move into like a project management role. So I know from my experiences, I've moved into a project management role, then a couple things happen. Number one, I'm refining my specialized skill set, my specialized knowledge, my expertise by rising above and being able to see, and I don't mean like that, one role is better than the other. What I'm saying is you're rising to a level where as a project manager, now you're overseeing the project. Now you're overseeing the consultants. Now you're overseeing what's going on at the client site and multiple aspects of the project. Now you're overseeing, so you're moving in more of a leadership role as you move to a project management role in the software industry. And we know this in the tech space. When we slide into that project management role, then as leaders, what we're doing is we're increasing our expertise, we're increasing our specialized knowledge, and as we grow in that, our income actually grows as well. And so let's take the same income example. Maybe I move from a generalist role as somebody working in a support role, and then I move up. Maybe I'm making, I don't know, $80,000. We'll just call that, and then I move up to a consultant role, and maybe that person makes, I don't know, about $130,000. But once they move up to the project management role, well, then they're moving up into, I don't know, maybe like the $200,000 range. Like that's what I experience in my industry, that those roles are around 250 to 280. But that comes from refining the expertise and refining the specialized knowledge. And you'll notice that I'm also decreasing the income gap. So if I start out in a support role, let's say I take me and my husband in this scenario. I start out in a support role and I'm making $80,000, and he's in a sales role and he's making multiple six figures or something like that, well above that income, maybe double or triple that income, and he's traveling to be able to do that. Now, as I increase my specialized knowledge, I increase my expertise, I'm starting to work my way up, but I still have the ability to do the things in my life that are important to me. In this scenario, what we're talking about, because I know a lot of us as Christian working moms in that corporate space that are natural born leaders and have specialized knowledge, we also have this pull that we want to be able to stay home and intentionally raise our kids. That's part of the way that God's designed us. Okay, so we've moved from a generalist role to more of a software consultant role. We're working our way up the ladder, and then we move to a project management role, and our income starts to go up and up and up. So we're closing that income gap, that perceived sometimes income gap that may exist in, I know from my industry, in the software industry. So what if I take it one step further? Like in my career, what I've done is I specialize in change management, or what's also called escalation management. And I also have increased my specialized knowledge and my expertise that I specifically cater to clients that are running SAP projects, that are mid-sized companies, that are running projects that are 6 or 7 figures for the project itself. And so in that, what I've also been able to do is actually like triple and quadruple my previous income as an employee, because I've been able to hone my skills. I've added more expertise, the way that I have the ability to work on not just from an enterprise level project management, but also include change management and wisdom, and help businesses not just get their ERP solution on an SAP project installed and running and on time and avoid lawsuits and all those great things, but we're also prescriptively upgrading the business in the process. And so those are some of the things that I do. The other thing that I notice as I've increased my expertise and increased my specialized knowledge, I also took that skill set. So this is the last element. I took that skill set and turned it into my own business, to my own consulting business, where I now take an income and I make maybe 3 or 4 times what I used to as an employee. And so there's 2 things going on here as I close that income gap and now completely overperform my male counterparts in the similar kind of industry. And that is that I have highly specialized knowledge in focusing on these kinds of projects and the abilities and experience that I bring to the table. But I'm also bringing just a world of experience, and then I've turned that into a consulting business myself. So That maps through the whole process of what do we do about that income gap and how do we shorten it. If you want to find out more information, come visit me at therippleeffect.net. I'd love to be able to talk to you about project management opportunities or being able to build a specialized business based on your own knowledge.